we get started, I want to say thank you to everybody that has been supporting the channel. Also, I've been making a big push to push my Patreon, and you should go sign up for my Patreon now. And the reason why is, starting May 1st, we're going to be doing some giveaways. We're going to pick the thing we're going to give away on May 1st, and June 1st we will select the winner. No person will win twice within a year. I don't have that many patrons, so your chances are good. Go sign up now to be a part of the Patreon giveaway, and we're not just giving away stickers or a hoodie or something like that. We're going to be giving away some nice stuff, some actual car parts, possibly, you know, throttle bodies, intake manifolds, cameras, tools. So stay tuned for that, sign up, and let's get into the video. What's up, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, back at you with another video, and today we're doing our very first FAQ, frequently asked questions. Leave your questions in the comment section below. I will not respond to them until next week when I make another one of these, and I try to answer your questions to the best of my ability. You know, just go from here. I'm gonna try to answer you guys' questions the best I could. I figure this is an easy way to give back. We're gonna go ahead and jump right into it, but first we're gonna do the news. First bit of news that we do have coming up is there's Grid Life, Bowling Green, Kentucky coming up. I know Eric Kudal's going to be out there racing, pushing his Civic. He just got a brand new engine, K24A2 setup, put in his car. Hybrid Racing, I believe, and Zosh are going to be out there. Check out those videos because the past Hybrid Racing videos have been phenomenal, you know, following Eric Kudal and his EG race car. That's one of the big things that's coming up. Following that is going to be the Honda meet in Florida, which was formerly known as the IBOC meet, but it's now the Honda meet. Everybody's going to be out there. I'll be out there along with a bunch of other people, so come see me and the car and the Integra. From what I know as of right now, the Integra will be there as well. That'll be a good time, so come check it out. Other formal news, Acura is actually kicking off the TL Type S finally, and my personal thoughts on this car is it should be pretty sick. Absolutely sick. The photos of it are pretty gorgeous. Personally, I get kind of a latest generation Accord platform type of vibe off of it. The color gold that the car is in, that they have for the promo photos, is pretty sick looking. I like it, but you know, Honda and Acura have been trying really hard the last couple of years to really up their paint and color game. Toyota these last couple of years has had a really good paint and color game. Even BMW's got some really phenomenal colors. And I think that's some of the things that we can look forward to in the future, is just how good paint and body will be for new cars. But with that being said, starting base is $50,000, which is pretty up there. So the question is will it live up? Will people buy it, you know, by the time it gets here? 355 horsepower, 354 pound-feet of torque. 354 pound-feet of torque on a turbo V6. This is going to be Honda's first turbo V6 setup. You know, people have been waiting for it for a while. Really, it's just all about if the transmissions can handle it, so we'll see. Of course, doesn't look good for a manual transmission. You know, the whole world is moving away from manual transmissions. What a damn shame that is, of course, because we all know how good it would be as a manual transmission. But I'm kind of looking forward to it. It's a new shot in the arm. You know, of course, the new Civic is coming soon. There's been a few spy shots, and the model, I think, from China, photos leaked or whatever. So far, it's kind of underwhelming for the new Civic, but Honda's always done that. They've always kind of gone wild, and then they've kind of toned it down to a little more conservative. Of course, I'm sure they're going to do something for the SI and Type R versions if they continue to produce a Type R version. So that's the news. Let's get into today's questions. Now to answer some questions, I'm going to be randomly selecting these. If you have a question you want to get answered, leave them in the comments below. I won't respond to them, and then I'll select them next week. Here we go. By the way, also, sorry if I ruin your names, so my bad. Ilian Castillo. My K24 doesn't start. It has K-Tune harness, K-Pro ECU, all connected, but not once start. What you recommend? It's a 96 Accord. All right, so one of the big things about doing any sort of K-swap in an older chassis, the biggest factor, I see this quite a lot with people not being able to get their ECU to power on or the fuel pump to turn on. And for the most part, if you can get your K-Pro to power on, the engine will run and start for the most part. The biggest problem that I've seen when people are doing swaps are ground issues. The thing about the K24 harness is that the engine ground is also the ECU ground, so if you make a mistake with that, the ECU will not power on. A lot of people can make a mistake of putting the engine harness ground on the valve cover and not on a stud, and so if you ground the harness, make sure that you put it on a stud, because the valve cover gasket will actually prevent the ground from grounding. So keep that in mind. Also, on a K-Series, make sure that any grounds that you have, whether attached to the motor or the transmission, there's no Honda bond in between where it's at. Like some people attach a ground to the timing chain cover, and sometimes that works, sometimes it doesn't. The biggest thing on a K-swapped car is grounds, and I mean, you can't have too many grounds on a K-Series. Some people believe that having too many is a waste of time and money, and yes, it can be. Honda's recommendation is that your grounds are the same as an RSX, for example, and the way that the RSX is grounded, it actually has the battery grounds to the transmission, grounds to the chassis itself, plus the main harness ground is on the center stud on the valve cover. So if you are having trouble getting everything to power on, grounds is the first place to check. And then, of course, fuses, relays, everything else like that. But the biggest mistake I see more than ever are grounds. All right, next question. Brandon Bassett. So I have a JDM K24A engine and a base model RSX transmission. Can I order a clutch and flywheel from an RSX Type S, and will it work? Or do I need a K24 flywheel? This is a good question. The K20 clutch kit / flywheel will work perfectly on a K24A. The main factor is that you need to make sure that you get manual flywheel bolts from an RSX. That's the biggest factor, because I believe the automatic flywheel bolts are a little longer or shorter or something like that. They're a different length. So a big factor is making sure that you have manual flywheel bolts. But yeah, the K20 flywheel will work on a K24, no problem. Righty tighty built. I know you're a super busy guy, and I am a nobody, but hope I get my message to you. Yeah, no problem. Sorry, I'm 3 months late on it. I'm in the process of wanting to do my first swap on a 95 Honda Accord EX. It was auto, but I did a manual swap myself. I'm clueless to the harness part. I know I have a OBD1 car, so if I go with the OBD1 swap, will it be plug and play? If I go OBD2, F20B, or H23A, which I really want to do, what will I have to do to my wiring harness to plug into the motor, and what else would I have to do? I heard I need to convert the distributor OBD1. How would I do that? Just swap it out for OBD1 Dizzy, or can I wire it up from my stock harness and plug into the Dizzy? What else is there? I'm so close to getting an H22. This is a very long question. I learned the manual swap myself and it works great, but there was no wiring, so it was easy. Alright, so generally speaking, when you're doing engine swaps, and I've covered this a lot back in the day, but generally speaking, when you're doing an engine swap, you want to retain the factory harness that was in the car, meaning if you're swapping in a new engine, try your best to put the old engine harness onto the new engine. You may have to make some changes to the harness itself, extend some wires, add some sensors, so on and so forth, but in general, that's kind of the rule. Also, OBD1 injectors and OBD1 distributors are pretty universal. They work basically the same, they just generally have different plugs on them, so the main key is to just run what works for you as far as the harness. And there are plenty of companies out there that create jumper harnesses. As far as going OBD2 or OBD1, I'm pretty sure they make a jumper harness so that if your car is OBD2 and you want to go to OBD1, you can get a jumper harness for it. If your car is OBD1 but your new engine is OBD2, you're usually fine to just swap the injectors and distributor and retain the same factory engine harness, run a chipped ECU. As far as Accord, H20 to H23, F20B swaps, Driven Films Photography is really good about that. I would hit him up and ask him some questions. Try to go from there. Hope that helps. Chad Kimball. What do you do for an evap canister? Do you just delete it? Yeah, pretty much. You know, certain states have certain emissions laws. I want to say Georgia's one of them where you can't get away with certain things like that, but just pay attention to your local laws, but you can just delete it. You usually shouldn't have an issue with it. Renato Perez. Any information on throttle body intake manifolds in the CRV head mount? I'm just going to assume what we're talking about is intake manifolds. CRVs, if they're B series, if they're B20s, they basically have the same head as an B18B. You can swap all the B18B manifolds out with the B20 manifolds. It's the same head essentially. For the most part, if you want to swap out your intake manifold on a B20, just throw a LS or B18B intake manifold, and you should be fine. The throttle bodies are the same situation. John Gotti. Great channel. Keep the videos coming. Would you know which spark plugs to use on a D15B VTEC, not a D15B7? Yes, if it's basically the 130 horsepower D15B VTEC, you're going to use NGK spark plugs that are the same as the D16Z6 out of a 92 to 95 Honda Civic EX or Del Sol. Those are basically the same heads. I believe it's a P08. It's been so long, can't remember. No good WL. I'm doing a K24A swap on my 95 Accord, and I know he already mentioned the transmissions, but what would be the best transmission to use? Honestly, probably RSX Type S or even an EP3 Civic Si transmission. Those essentially have the same mounting points, and I'm pretty sure that Hasport makes a kit. So, T. Jenkin. Can I do a K24 swap in a 97 Civic DC subframe swap and keep power steering NAC? Yes, you can. Luckily, Hybrid Racing makes a lot of kits that retrofit the power steering and AC. So with that, you're good to go. Danny Longstreth. Okay, stupid question. You have gone over this, but just making sure. I got a 93 hatch and 97 TEG. Can I use the TEG as a donor and swap all the parts, suspension, and engine trans from the TEG to my hatch with no parts need other than what's on the cars? Yes, I'm pretty sure. Other than wiring, yes, I would retain the 93 hatch wiring, so that way, and it should go right onto the engine. Swap injectors and distributor possibly, just to make it all plug and play. But for the most part, everything will bolt on, and that's pretty much it. Now, for another section of the video, I'm going to have a YouTuber ask a question. So today's question comes from none other than Christian Perez of Honda Vlogs. He has a question here that he would like to ask.
Hey man, what's cracking? I got a question for you for this week or whenever, but I guess my question is, what are your top 5 reasons that you think Florida is becoming the mecca for automotive content these days?
That's a good question. Top 5 reasons why Florida is becoming the automotive mecca. Number 1 has got to be the weather. That's simply put, it's warm and beautiful year round. Number 2 has got to be the automotive culture. There's constant drag racing here. The roads, for the most part, are beautiful. Some areas are pretty terrible. For the most part, the roads here are nice, especially if you're doing a turbo build or something like that. Number 3, I'd have to say taxes. Florida is a state that doesn't do income tax, so that makes things a little easier to deal with. Number 4 is also part of the culture. I mean, it might be not a well-known one. You seem to be kind of left alone here by the police. If you have a modified car or, you're kind of speeding, they tend not to really, kind of come down on you for that. And I think the 5th reason is just everyone else is kind of moving here, and especially given the current circumstance with the way that a lot of places in the country, the world are still kind of locked down. In Florida, we're still wide open out here, boy. And since I've moved to Florida, I've enjoyed it a lot. So those are my top 5 reasons of why so many automotive YouTubers are making Florida like the YouTube mecca, the automotive YouTube mecca, essentially. All right, so that pretty much wraps this video up. Like I said, if you would like a question that you would like to have answered, leave them in the comments below and I will do them next week. Also, a big thing is the Patreon. Sign up now for the Patreon. Sign up now for the Patreon. You might think that, oh, this guy's just out about now one of these YouTubers trying to sign up for the Patreon now. Not only does it help support the channel and, you know, help me make more videos, but May 1st we'll be choosing something to give away. And I'm not talking about some stickers or a hat or a hoodie. I'm talking about we're going to be giving away some real parts, and I'm going to be doing them each month. And also, if you want to pick some stickers up, go to my website, HonestryGarage.com. Thank you guys so much for watching. I'll see you in the next one. Peace!